Hey y'all, it's Reverend Will here from First Christian Church in Fulton, coming to you for our weekly midweek devotion. We gather around this time Wednesdays about 11 o'clock, and I offer us a devotion, something that'll wet our whistle as we stop work for a little bit. This week's is kind of a blast from the past for me because I grew up with the fad of those WWJD bracelets. I grew up when it was roaring strong. If you don't remember, WWJD was a reminder for young and old Christians alike to ask themselves, what would Jesus do? Putting it on a bracelet seemed like I think an innocuous way to make sure that the message traveled with someone wherever they happen to find themselves. Well, I think the idea was to prevent teens from getting into or doing illicit activities, a spinoff of purity culture. I think there is something to glean here, even these decades later. The impetus behind WWJD is good. It's true. We who call ourselves disciples probably should at least attempt to follow the person we claim to be disciples of. Our choices and preferences can and should be impacted by the faith we claim to have. The way we interact with the world can and should be changed by the grace and mercy and love we've received from Jesus. How we live should be patterned after the one in whom we live and move and have our being. But we also know there is a disconnect between what we know we can and should do and what we actually do. The effects of sin and death, even in the lives of those who have been baptized, are very much real. On this side of Jesus' return, people of faith are semel justus et peccator, or saints and sinners. While that's exactly where the WWJD bracelet comes in. It's a reminder for us to keep our actions matching our faith best we can. The problem is that when that tool no longer helps but accuses, when it no longer reminds us what Jesus did for us, died for our forgiveness and was raised for our justification, and instead reminds us of how we fail to live up to it. What is meant for our good is turned into a tool of despair, showing how we don't measure up. The funny thing is, the answer to WWJD is all the more prevalent on occasions when we feel like we are not living up to that example of Jesus. The answer is always live, die, be raised, and ascend for the sake of others. Jesus' entire life was for other people's betterment. He cared not about his own safety, nor about accumulating power for himself, not about gathering wealth around him, nor storing up good experiences. His entire presence here on earth was so humanity, you and me included, would be given access to life as it was supposed to be. Failing to live up to Jesus' standard and imitating him, which, if we're honest, is all the time, doesn't change what Jesus would do. Jesus went to the cross because we couldn't. That's why we point others to what he did for us and them, not to what we do for ourselves. Thanks for joining me for this week's devotion. I hope you heard a word of grace, a word of reminding of what Jesus has done for us and how it changes how we live and move. If you like what you heard, please like and share it, and maybe tag someone who you think might need to hear it. You're also invited to join us for worship this Sunday morning. We gather together at 10:30 in person and on Facebook and YouTube, so you're invited to join us that way. But if not, our benediction is the same as always. God be with you till we meet again.